Hi there. So I promised a three-part series. This is part two. Charlotte Mason's Education is an Atmosphere, a Discipline, and a Life. And we did atmosphere last time, and it was very thorough. So if you need a refresher, start there. And today I'm going to be talking about discipline, which is something that has been on my mind quite a bit. I know it's kind of cheesy to start any kind of speech with a dictionary definition, but I'm going to, because most of the time when people think discipline, they think punishment. And what I'm going to try to convey today is that discipline is equal parts punishment and training. So the dictionary says discipline is a noun. It's training to act in accordance with rules or drill, activity, exercise, or regimen that develops or improves a skill, so training, punishment inflicted by way of correction and training, the rigor or training effect of experience, adversity, etc., and behavior in accordance with rules of conduct, behavior and order maintained by training and control. So just to start there, Charlotte Mason said, by education as a discipline is meant the discipline of habits formed definitely and thoughtfully, whether habits of mind or body. She said that in volume 1 in the preface. And I think about that one a lot. I think about discipline a lot. It's a big part of my life. And especially because I live in a military town and I see it on a regular basis. I think the first time I ever really thought about discipline, I was in basic training, and I was amazed looking around these like perfect lines of guys running, just learning drill and ceremony, even just standing in line with to get your food. It was just ridiculous how much discipline it took to kind of get in the groove in basic training. And it wasn't something that I was used to. I'm from California in the south of France. I seriously grew up with no discipline whatsoever, and everything was just whatever, we'll get to it when we have time and all this. So it was just a very different experience for me. And to be perfectly honest, that was probably the best time I ever had in my life, because there was always someone there to keep me in line, remind me of what I needed to be doing, make sure that I was putting forth the best me that I could put forth, and to correct me when I needed correcting. And it was just really enjoyable for me. So speaking from experience as somebody who's gone from being super disordered and undisciplined, relaxed, whatever. I'm still relaxed, but I appreciate discipline very much now. And you know, I was thinking about it the other day. Like, I run this 8-mile trail by the river down here, and when I go, I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's 17 degrees the first day that I did it. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, like, I'm insane to be doing this. And to be honest, I probably wouldn't have done it if my husband hadn't made me. But I went, and I was out there, and I was thinking it was pretty awesome because there was nobody else on the trail. And it was just freezing, and I'm just sitting there running, like, okay, I can do this. And I get about a mile in, and I see these two guys, and they're obviously special forces, because I live here at Fort Bragg, the home of 82nd Airborne and Special Forces. And so these guys are running. They're obviously SF, and they have these backpacks on, and their backpacks have rocks in them. And I went from feeling like I was a badass, feeling I was really amazing, to feeling just kind of inadequate. Just because of their own discipline. And I see that stuff all the time. I see it around me, and I recognize it, and I'm constantly amazed by it. But Charlotte Mason said, a habit is 10 natures in volume 1 on page 97. And what she meant by that was that discipline is training in good habits. It builds character. It is character. And that's really obvious, you know, when you think about how a habit can overcome your natural tendencies. I'm always late. Well, getting in the habit of being on time will help me to always be on time. I'm an inattentive person, or I have ADD. Well, getting in the habit of being attentive will help me to overcome that. So it builds character, and it's, like she said, it's 10 natures. And she also said, habit in the hands of a mother is as his wheel to the potter or a knife to the carver. And so I think about that a lot too, because it's like, it's this tool that we have at our disposal, and it's probably the most underused tool in parenting these days. I see around me that most people are not very disciplined, and thus their children are not very disciplined. And so there's this sort of thing, but you know those families, when they walk into the room, there's like 15 of them, and they're all in a row, and the older kid is holding the babies, and it's like, it's beautiful, and you see it and you think, oh gosh, like that is a disciplined family. Well, those are the kinds of attitudes that we're going for, because it will make for smooth and easy days. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I have this book. Sorry. I have this book called Laying Down the Rails. It's put out by simplycharlottemason.com. And really what it is just a series of Charlotte's writings put into a specific order that helps you to look up her stuff based on habits instead of just in the order that she wrote it. And so if you're looking for a way to start building good habits and building character, that's the book that I recommend to everyone. There's also a children's or like a family series, that you can do with the kids. It's like lesson plans for using Laying Down the Rails. But anyways, so some of the things that I gleaned from that book that really helped me are that habits are intentional. We write our little habits up here on our board, and this is what we're working on. And we say, hey, you know what? This is our habit. This is what we're doing. And every morning we read a poem that has to do with our habit, or we read a story where the person exemplifies somebody that has that habit or whatever it is. And so it helps us to be more disciplined because we're building these habits intentionally. It overpowers our natural tendencies like we talked about. And in order for them to work, we have to perform these habits or keep doing these things without lapses. So you can't say, no, not today. So if I'm changing my dietary habits, I mean, a cheat day, that's cute and all, but truly it's a habit. And if I'm trying to be more respectful or speak more respectfully, it's a habit, and I can't just take a day off. And if I do, you just get back on and do it again. But the thing is that it becomes stronger the longer you do it. It's kind of like a muscle. You're working it out. You're getting in this habit and building this character. So habit is inevitable, basically. We're going to build habits no matter what. We gather them from our environment. They're picked up via our environment and from the atmosphere of the home. So again, if you haven't watched the atmosphere video, you want to check it out and learn a little bit about creating atmosphere in the home. But basically the idea is that habits produce character, and character will produce smooth and easy days for mom and for the father and the people around them. It'll be pleasant and enjoyable to be around these kids if they have good character. And in this book, she broke down all the habits that Charlotte Mason talked about into sort of like a series. So some of them are habits of decency and propriety, and those would be like manners. Obviously, we want to work on our manners. There's some people that need to work on their manners. Let's just put it that way. Kids need to work on their manners. And so, habits of decency and propriety is manners. And working on manners builds character. Moral habits, the things that we do on a daily basis that make us moral people. Mental habits, the things that make our minds stronger. Everything. I mean, just even if it's just something like meditation, it's a habit. You have to get into it, but it will make your mind stronger. Physical habits, again, these are like the ways that we take care of ourselves and going out and getting exercise or nutritional habits and things like that. And then she also had religious and spiritual habits. So if you're a Christian, it would be, reading your Bible, your pagan performing rituals, whatever you're into and need for your spiritual life. These are habits that you need to be building into your day and continuously practicing so that you feel fulfilled as a person, like you're building and growing in character. There is this really fabulous book that I'm pretty sure my husband just threw away. I looked for it and couldn't find it, but it's called Discipline, the Glad Surrender, and it's by Elizabeth Elliot, who's one of my favorite authors. And she kind of breaks down the idea of discipline as a submission to God. And so again, if you're not a Christian, forgive me, but I'm going to go to like that kind of place, a religious place. But she breaks it down as it's submission to what is good for us. I'll just put it that way. And so she talks about things like she says, she breaks it down into like discipline of body. And she talks about, nutrition and exercise and sleep. And those things are really important. I have learned tremendously in the past 3 months that I need to be very disciplined in all of those things because it affects my energy levels and it affects how I function in my day-to-day tasks and everything. And so it's really important that I pay attention to nutrition and exercise and all that stuff. And I, I try to be good about that. And I think everybody does. Sleep is a big one. I'm not sleeping much. I haven't slept much since 2004. And I'm pretty sure that I need to work on sleeping a little bit more. But just because I haven't doesn't mean I won't. I've just got to keep working towards it. So sleep is a big one. So those are like the positive aspects of discipline of body. But there's also this sort of like punishment aspect of discipline of body. One area you can go to there is fasting. A lot of people fast for spiritual reasons. A lot of people fast for physical reasons. And so fasting is like this disciplinary area in the body. People fast not just from food, but sometimes from other types of pleasure, things that will keep them sort of like on edge and help them to move forward into new places if they're able to do that. And like another discipline body area would be like corporal punishment, or like if you're Catholic, we do flagellation. Not everyone, a lot of Catholics. So those are areas, again, that are like the discipline of the body. St. Francis, when he felt like he was going to commit sexual sins that he just knew were wrong, he was famous for, I think it was St. Francis, going outside and rolling in the snow, whatever it takes to sort of like prevent yourself from doing those things that are not going to grow you or help the people around you. And so it's discipline of body, and then she went into discipline of mind, and she talked about thought, the discipline of thinking, because you know what? There are a lot of people out there who don't think. They just don't think. And we need to think. I mean, that is why we're educating these kids. That's what we're doing. Thinking is important. If everybody thought, the world would not look the way that it does, and we need to think. Truly, guys, like we need to think. So I can't encourage you enough to discipline your minds so that you are thinking clearly. Take a philosophy class. If you don't know how to think, take a logic class. You're teaching your kids this stuff. It's important. Discipline of expression. Some people are really great thinkers and really bad communicators, and they can't get their thoughts across. Learn to write clearly, because nowadays, like, you're doing it on the internet a lot. Learn to speak clearly. I'm probably doing a terrible job right now, but you see what I'm saying. Meditation, the discipline of meditation, again, the ability to sort of like clear your mind, work on things the way that you need to in your mind space. And then the other side of that is obviously like the discipline of peace, of sort of like letting go, surrendering, all that stuff. And interestingly, she took it to a whole place that I wasn't going to take it to, but I think I should. This author, who again is a Christian author named Elizabeth Elliot, she talks about discipline of place. And what that meant for her was understanding know your role. Just know where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing. And then live according to that. And so she actually talked about this verse in Scripture, in the Christian Bible, that talks about how slaves should relate to their masters and how masters should relate to their slaves. And so on the slave side, in discipline of place, you have respect and due honor. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a slave-master situation, but it could be like a parent-child situation or a teacher-student situation. But giving respect and honor to the one to whom it's due because of their place. My battery's running low. Hang on 1 second. So giving respect and honor to the person to whom it's due, and giving your obedience and your trust to the person to whom it's due. It's huge. Entire relationships are built around this idea, and I can't say enough. I mean, people don't consider it, but being able to trust that your master has his best interests, or your best interests, in the forefront of his or her mind, whatever, and being able to obey, like really obey. I mean, you guys are parents, so you know obedience does not come naturally, and so it's something that we have to work at. And I try to work at it every day, and every day I find that I fail in a lot of areas. So that's really what submission is about, and that submission is the discipline of place, of knowing your role and knowing what you're supposed to be doing. On the other side of that, the passage that she's talking about speaks to masters, and it talks about putting the other first, loving them better, or putting them first, treating them with compassion, treating your slaves with compassion, and honesty in the relationship. So being forward about what you expect or what you need and things like that. And again, that's a discipline. Discipline of place, she talked about. She talked about discipline of time and possessions, and quite honestly, that boiled down to like schedule, use of time, and priorities, and detachment from not being able to get those things done. And, you know, that's atmosphere. I mean, it's discipline. Atmosphere is a discipline. But that kind of falls into the realm of atmosphere, and we talked about that last time. And she also talked about the discipline of work, and making sure that you always have something to do, something to love, and something to look forward to. And I thought that was such a great way to sort of like round out this idea of creating good habits and working towards something, and always having something to do, something to love, and something to look forward to, because that's kind of like what builds happiness in a person. And if you're happy, then you'll affect the people around you, and they'll be happy. So it was a good way in my mind to sort of like define the discipline of work. These kids are going to have to be working, and it's going to have to be difficult, but it also needs to be enjoyable, and it needs to be something that kind of grips them and makes them want to continue to learn. So anyways, I know this was just kind of short, but I hope that it was very helpful. And just consider, you know, the majority portion of discipline is habit formation, and just make it be intentional, however you choose to do that. But just picking something and sticking with it and doing it every day. And like I want to learn Arabic, or be better at Arabic, and it's really important to me. So I really stink at getting up in the morning and studying Arabic, but I need to do that every day. And I don't know, I mean, I have fitness goals every day. I'm trying to get up and meet those fitness goals, and sometimes I do better than others. And I have lots of other goals. And so I need somebody to help me with those things, and your kids need somebody to help them with these things, and you're it. So doing a good job with discipline, and really understanding that education is a discipline, an atmosphere, and a life, will help you in a Charlotte Mason education to provide your kids with the kind of environment and atmosphere and whatnot, and habits, character, that build them into really great people. So I hope this was helpful, and next time we'll talk about education as a life, and that's a whole other realm of crazy. So we'll go there next time. Okay, bye.